Gee, and I haven't thought of my interesting fact for the day, so I'm going to do this on the fly. I'm really looking forward to my regular sauna.
Yes, the delivery's coming.
Plus, it's
Sauna's
apparently,
coming.
I've been corrected many times. I used to say sauna, but apparently it's sauna.
Sauna,
I
sauna.
learned
Okay,
something new.
okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm Jeff Berman, and I've been listening to a lot of 90s grunge recently.
Ooh, what is your short list of
Yeah,
90s grunge?
it's not a short list, but I have been listening to Stone Temple Pilots and Alice in Chains and
Yes.
some Tool,
Okay.
and those are the ones off the top of my head.
Funny you mentioned this. I have a Spotify playlist that I use for working out, and it's all, I think it's technically, I don't know if it's not just grunge, but it's a lot of the artists that you just named, but it's all 90s stuff. And I was laughing about and reflecting on this. It's pathetic. This will give a little bit too much information about me, but a lot of it is because this is what was on in the weight room in high school, and it takes me back to that time. And like that, it's just one of those another examples of those formative times. Stuff hits you, and then it's like with you forever.
So true. The nostalgia's strong, strong.
And it seems because again, I'm like, I listen to it and I'm like, I try to be objective. I'm like, this isn't the best music ever made, but man, it hits for me.
Yeah,
So,
same. I agree. Pumps it up.
anywho,
Like some Danzig, some Mother,
yeah,
Danzig
that's
Mother.
on the playlist. All
Yeah,
and
I knew that'd be on your
it is
playlist.
Tools on there. And you know what? Here's one that I didn't even realize, and we'll get into actually talking about marketing in a second. But I never was really a big System of a Down fan, but man,
Yeah,
I am into System of a Down.
yeah, they're good.
Really good.
They're good. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I like them too.
All right. So, Guy, Jeff, we are co founders of Attorney Sync, where we help law firms hit growth goals using data. And today we've got a couple announcements and some news items, and then we're going to go into really mostly the theme today is going to be Google documentation on creating content more generally, but also at the intersection of content and AIOs, artificial intelligence overviews for people who don't know, and AI mode, and really looking at how does Google view AI content and what lawyers can do to use AI, but also stay in the guidelines and also create content that actually helps them attract business. But first, a few announcements. First, is the Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Summit will be taking place in September 22nd through
Very
24th.
exciting.
Yes, Jeff, you'll
It's
be
gonna be
there.
great. I'll be
So
there.
if you want to meet
Bells on.
if you want to meet us, we will be there talking shop with Conrad and the Lunch Hour Legal Marketing gang. You can go to lunchhourlegalmarketing.com to learn more about that conference, but really excited about that, especially if you're an in-house marketer, but law firm owners and lawyers are also welcome. Second announcement, Attorney Sync's partnership with Near Media. Super excited about this. We just got the preliminary consumer survey results back from the gents at Near Media, and wow, I it just goes to show you, and we've been doing this for a long time, but you get into these ruts where you're like, you think that legal services
Think,
you think and these legal
think you
services
know.
consumer, there's the big thing that really reminded me of, and this would be a whole topic for another conversation for us, is but everybody thinks that legal services consumers act monolithically, like they all hire lawyers the same way. The defaults are like, oh, friends and referrals. But the thing is, if you dive a little deeper into that, a lot of times people don't want to get a referral because they're embarrassed that they're dealing with the issue.
Makes sense.
The other thing that really that and it's funny because I asked Claire about this. I was like, off the cuff, just this is me casual dinner talk. I'm like, if you needed a lawyer, where would you go? And she's, of course, I would ask friends and family. Probably she'd ask me first. And then I was like, well, what if I didn't have a good referral for? Didn't want to ask me. And here's what she said: there are Facebook mom groups that she has grown trust in. It's like people in the community. And this was the
Mm-hmm.
really interesting part, and this is the nuanced part to me, is I would search in the group for lawyer or whatever it is. And I think for lawyers, it's an important thing to think about is, are you active? Now, look, I'm not saying that you need to be in mom groups on Facebook. That's probably not the right group for you, especially if you're not a mom. People are going to be like, what are you doing in here, weird lawyer? If you are a mom and you're a lawyer, you should be in there in your local community. And then two, whatever you're in, we talk about this all the time, but whatever you're into, get active in those communities, because
Right.
people don't realize it, but this is where people are going. They're going into these, we talk about dark social a lot, but these private social networks. And I think that's a really
Because they still want the referral from someone trustworthy, right? So if they can't get it from the immediate circle, they're going to go to that next outer ring, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. And anyway, the near media stuff, a lot of surprises in there. And if you're listening to this and you're an Attorney Sync client, reach out to us, because we're giving you first crack at it. It's very limited in terms of access and exclusivity and all this kind of stuff. And if you're not an Attorney Sync client, reach out to us anyway, because eventually we're going to be beyond just offering to our existing clients. We're going to be opening up the seats just to be for transparency. We get 2 seats in each DMA. Mockingbird gets 2 seats in each DMA, and Near Media is going to sell 2 of their own seats in each DMA. So there'll be a total of 6 in each DMA, but a huge competitive advantage, I believe, from research component that a lot of lawyers, they don't even do the research. So I think that could be huge. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are our announcements. Now we're going to dive into the Google AI stuff. And the starting point for this is inspired by Lily Ray, who published at Search Engine Land, and her article is AI search is booming, but SEO is still not dead. And there are a couple key details, headlines that I wanted to talk to you about, Jeff. The first is, she says, always question where your marketing advice comes from, especially with the rise of AI. And
love this one.
I know you hear it on the calls. I know I've got emails from some of our clients from some of these AI shops, but there is this proliferation of AI marketing vendors. It's funny because the new SEO, right? Like in the past, people were like, "Oh,
old is new again."
Yeah, guaranteed rankings, guaranteed SEO, and it's all trash and it's bad advice. And Lily points out that in the article, and I think this is kind of a new lens on this that we're all going to be facing to some extent, but she's like, when you dig into some of these companies, like the people on their websites are AI generated. And it's, are you going to trust a faceless company who's generating fake avatars of people using AI to do that for your law firm? And guess what? Some lawyers are.
I know. There's just so much snake oil in this industry, right? It's that the second something new and shiny comes up, boom, there you go. They gave great examples through the years when Google Plus came out and some of these different changes that were earth-shattering, and then these companies that are focused just solely on that, and they were going to bring you the riches from those types of things. And it's a great article because it goes on to show how much it's just overlap with a lot of the same stuff you should have been doing the whole time, right? So there's new there, but man, it's, careful. At least consider who the messenger is telling you if the sky's falling or spreading FUD or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's the thing that's, so frustrating, because so much of all this stuff, and marketing law firms as well, it's a perception game, and you don't know until you get burned. And folks listening to this, you can go and research these. There's this Texas law firm that's getting sued because the AI went haywire and started publishing the name of competitive lawyers on the website. And there's a bunch of examples. Like everybody's seen the headlines of the hallucinated cases that are being filed in court and that kind of stuff. And so anyway, you got to find people you can trust. And certainly, in my view, faceless AI avatars are not the first place for trust. But to your point, moving on from that, as Lily writes, AI search is creating a tremendous shift in the SEO industry. And this is the tightrope that we walk, because you get on the phone with folks and they're like, tell me how to rank in AIOs. Tell me how to rank in AI mode. Tell me how to rank in ChatGPT and Perplexity and blah, blah, blah. And we are into their defense. They're not totally off, because we are seeing these technologies show up in CRM data, qualitative CRM data. People are saying, I use ChatGPT. We see it ourselves. People have found Attorney Sync using ChatGPT. And so we're walking this tightrope.
And yet,
Go ahead.
sorry, I want to make
Mhm.
this one point because I love this line from it. Even if all of ChatGPT's 1 billion daily messages were search related, its market share would still be under 1%, while Google holds 94%. So, just a side note, it's not to say we shouldn't be thinking about what's coming next, but let's also keep this all in perspective in terms of where it's at today.
Exactly. That's where I was going to take this is before we abandon all of, and someone else was writing I think it was, remember who it was. I just saw this up, tried to look for it on for the show notes. They're talking about it was at SEMrush or SEMrush. I never know how they want that pronounced. They're talking. Oh, it was Darren Shaw. He was somebody else on LinkedIn, and they're talking about how they got this. Someone at SEMrush, probably an account rep or something, was like, you don't need to do local SEO because local SEO is not helping you show up in ChatGPT. And I this morning, this is my life. I go to ChatGPT just to double check, and guess what? You search for car accident lawyer near me, and they're using Google Business Profiles to populate the ChatGPT result, which is in essence local SEO.
They're heavily citing the local stuff. They're pulling it from Bing and Google. At least that's how it's going right now. Again, not to say that it's not going to look a little bit different as we move forward, but man, keep this in perspective in terms of where it's pulling the data from right now. And Google, particularly Google Business Profiles, they have the data.
Exactly. And so, as Lily writes in her article, none of this means SEO is dead. Or that the approaches SEOs have relied on for decades are suddenly irrelevant. Actually, the opposite is true. SEO teams approaching their work the right way are at a major advantage for encouraging content and brands to appear in AI search results. And I think there's a lot in there. To me, one of the things that I've been trying to talk to folks about, and I know that we talk about it at Attorney Sync as well in terms of the demand generation versus demand capture context. If anything is quote unquote really changing, it's the reprioritization of brand, in my opinion. And I think that, and when I say that, it's a big buzzword, but getting people talking about your firm in a variety of places, not just in the, historically, we think about things like you get links from other relevant sites, especially geographically geographically relevant and topically relevant. I think now I would be like, links are still a thing, but let's be more focused on just the getting people talking, getting people searching on brand terms, because the more you're showing up in that data, the more likely it is that you're going to be in one of these, the probability of showing up in one of these LLM responses.
So citations, mentions, this is digital PR, right?
Exactly.
Largely.
Yeah. No, and in fact, in a couple of the subheadings from the article, and we're going to go into Google's developer guidelines on this stuff, but multimodal. So the first thing is historically, SEOs have been very like, oh, it's got to be text, it's got to be crawlable and indexable text. That's how this stuff works. And I would say, I would be more focused on video. I'd be video transcripts, captions, even
in conjunction with it, across all these things.
Yeah, if you think about it, let's focus on multimodal. So multimodal is making sure that you're not just focusing on text, imagery, video. I even think I've
audio.
I've seen some folks talking about even text on images, that these machines are getting good at reading about text on images. I'll give the unsophisticated example just so people can wrap their heads around it. You've got your GBP profile and you've got a picture of lawyers at the firm. You might put on the image the lawyer's name, the firm name, and then maybe we're helping survivors of personal injury or whatever it's going to be, getting some keywords on the image itself. I haven't done extensive testing on that, but it makes sense from, I think, where the machines are going. The next one is digital PR. You mentioned this one. It's links. And in fact, we're not going to go into this one today. Maybe we'll do this one next time. But Google recently updated for the first time in a while their documentation on how to get your business found in local search results. And mostly we talk about the prominence factor. And they've really simplified it down to two things, and that's reviews and links. And so I think that when we talk about digital PR, that's certainly that. I think local links still are going to play a role.
I was just saying local links, yeah.
Local links. And look, in Google, this is other thing that I think people forget. Google, even in AI mode, if you go and look at what they announced at Google AI I/O, Google I/O, I'm all these acronyms, I'm getting confused. Their big developer conference, they talk about, lost my train of thought. I'm gonna have to edit this, but we'll work on it. We're talking about digital
You were talking
PR.
about the develop at the developer conference. We talked about they revised their local search guidelines,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, sorry. A lot of people have concluded that in AI world, AI mode, GPTs, that links are no longer relevant. And the important thing that they mention is that even in AI mode, they haven't completely abandoned historical search algorithms. The historical search algorithms are still playing a role even in AI mode. And so, anyway, the point is, and Lily mentions this in her article too, is that a lot of the things that we've done, there's a huge overlap between how you're going to appear
right.
in AI mode. Where I get because I'm the meh links person. They're like, "Oh, links are dead. What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Okay, I mean, you say that, but look at all these business law firms that still show up in AI mode and still show up in Chat GPT and still show up in Perplexity. Their links are still playing a role. That role might be evolving.
Aren't they using these like fan out queries? So they're basically using search to pull information, aggregate it together, and then present it in these AI modes, right? So it's this, at least in its current form, it's this crossover between you are showing up in search and then it's finding you through that and through these queries and then pulling that information in, right? Yeah, it's not like this, it's an iteration off of it, even though it feels like something very new. It's not an abandonment of everything that was going on before. And I think that's something important to understand. A lot of the snake oil out there is pitching something new and completely different, and it's not. It's an iteration. It's an iteration.
Exactly right. And so there's a lot of overlap with historical search activities. The next one on here, we alluded to it, is this idea of cross platform. I think historically SEOs have thought, it goes back to that indexing and crawling thing. Look, in order for you to rank in a search result, you got to get indexed and crawled. Potentially there's some differences, but I think there's two big areas that I would be focusing on, maybe three, if you break it down this way, in cross-platform. One is video platforms. So YouTube, let's face it, Google owns YouTube. Google I/O has talked about using YouTube data to train its AI. And so you think about that. And this is why the number two one is going to be forum sites like Reddit, which we'll get to in a second. You think about it, Google is able to, when the machine can read video content and read the transcripts and understand what's going on in the video, that's a huge amount of data that is going to help them train their machines.
Huge amount of data.
And I still think YouTube is largely overlooked by a lot of lawyers. Like it's some of it I think is demographic issue. I reveal that I'm 47. Am I 47? I think I'm 47. And
I don't think you're 47. I think you're 46.
46. See, can't even keep. That's what happens when you get older. You can't even remember how old you are.
You don't care anymore is the answer.
I don't care. I won't care until I'm 50, and then
celebrate
all of a sudden,
the zeros.
Yeah, I'm gonna celebrate. I'm starting to celebrate the zeros. But YouTube for me, someone seriously, I'm not a prolific YouTube user, but gosh, a lot of people are. And I haven't looked at YouTube demographic data in recent times, but there's no question that it's up there. And number two, Google is showing YouTube results in their historic search results, and so it's another thing there. But anyway, I'm going down this YouTube rabbit hole. The point is cross-platform video platforms. Number two is these forum platforms. We see Reddit. Google did the deal with Reddit. Yeah, Reddit's showing up for everything. I think they've dialed that back a little bit, but they're using Reddit forum content to train. Quora shows up a lot. I would focus on the legal specific ones too. If there are Avvo, I don't even know if Avvo Answers is still active, but like essentially any third-party publishing site that's legal relevant. Yep. And also geographically relevant. That's why these subreddits that are on, we've been telling folks, get active in the subs. It's very similar to this idea of these private social networks, except that they're crawlable and indexable and the machines are reading. And then the third one that I think about is social media in general. So like beyond YouTube, if you do a variety of searches, you'll see more and more social content populating. You're seeing social content populate in Google Business Profile listings and one boxes. You're seeing it show up.
There's been more indexation opened up to those, correct?
Yeah, they just opened up
Very recently,
Instagram.
even.
Instagram, I
Yeah.
think they opened it up to crawling and indexing all the professional accounts. So the short version of that is, and this was a conversation that's going on LinkedIn too, but there's more social content showing up: Instagram, TikTok, obviously YouTube, Meta. I always tell folks, I'm like, go do queries that are relevant to your practice and see what content shows up, and then prioritize that content. In a perfect world, you're in all of it, but of course, we live in a world of limited resources, and so a lot of it's prioritization of where you're spending your time. But I would say social. I think that social data, that's another change. Is like historically we said it really does. It's not getting crawled. It's not getting indexed. It doesn't really play a role in information retrieval. That's totally different in my view now.
Yeah, not quite as walled.
Yeah, exactly. And again, for me, and you can accuse me of the same thing that I rail against the AI people about and other worthy rivals about, because we sell local SEO services. But to me, local SEO is going to become more important than ever. I think if you think about it in the legal context, so many people, when they go down this journey of dealing with a life legal issue, there is a very strong local component to it.
Right.
Local is trust. And whether you're going to a private Facebook group or you're going to a local subreddit, it's implicit that, at least at a state level, and this varies from where you are, some DMAs are more local than others. If you're in a major DMA, it's a wider radius. In my local community, it's pretty tight. So I'm in Michigan. I would suggest that most people that are looking for lawyers in our community and like the surrounding communities, they're not looking to hire a lawyer in Traverse City. They're not looking to hire a lawyer in Rapids.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
I think that's most people's experience. Local community.
local
Absolutely.
community. So I think local is going to continue to be important. And then the last one, which isn't really new, but I think it's likely to play an even larger role, is structured data. The machines are getting good, but the more that you can help the machines understand information about your business, and the more that information is widely distributed and ingested by the machines, the more it's just math for them. They're just like, you're showing up in more places, you're showing up on these sites that we have algorithmically determined are reliable, and you have marked up your pages and attributes with structured data that helps us understand. It's going to help that. And of course, some obvious ones are aggregate review markup creates those star reviews and ratings in search results. I think that's going to be a continued, or maybe a reprioritized thing to be thinking about in the context of AI world.
AI, yeah.
Okay. Anything else to say about Lily's article? Great article for folks. If you haven't read it, get over to Search Engine Land.
It is a great article.
I agree. Okay. I'm gonna jump to this Google developer page it's titled AI Features on Your Website. And they go through here first they start about how AI features work in search. And so if you're kind of like, you're hearing about this stuff, but you're not really sure, I would go check this out. They break down the distinction between AI overviews and AI mode. Jeff, I'm gonna turn it over to you for a second. How do you think about, even if you're not going deep on what Google says, when you think about AI overviews and AI mode, how would you describe that to a lawyer?
How would I describe that to a lawyer?
Yeah, how would you describe, like, if I'm hearing all this AI stuff, and they're like, I want to have questions about the differences or like what it means, like what's an AI overview versus what's AI mode and data.
I think about it more like it is trying to supply the answer versus supplying some sources of the data. Like that's the simplest explanation that I would have for it. And that's why you're getting into like answer engine optimization and those types of things, is this is just trying to give you the answer to whatever question is that you have out there. Obviously, there's nuance with this, though, right? Because you've got situations that aren't just fact-based. People are looking for a recommendation, a referral, or these types of things. So it becomes a little bit more, not as direct in terms of this is obviously the one right answer that's being given here. Yeah, that'd be the most simple explanation I'd give in terms of what it actually is.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I'm going to even simplify it more. Sometimes, if you're like totally new to this, you do a search and there's this little blurb at the top of the search results that does what Jeff says. It tries to answer your search. And it has it'll say the little demarcation that it's AI generated. AI mode, that's like full blown AI. I think the best way we can say that is just Google's answer to ChatGPT. As we mentioned, it's a combination.
More conversational.
More conversational. It's a combination of historical search algorithms with generative technology. And the other thing that I will mention, at least as of right now, although Google has indicated that AI mode is the coming version of the default search, but today it's not. And I say that because in order to trigger AI mode, the user has to click a button saying, give me the AI mode result, whether it's in the search box,
going somewhere else.
Yeah, or it's a tab or whatever. But they have indicated that's what's coming. And so if you're looking like, hey, I'm trying to future-proof my visibility, I would be looking at AI mode. Now, some other things about AI mode. So as Jeff mentioned, it's more conversational. In the local context, though, we still see that Google is relying heavily on local business data for lower funnel, non-brand lawyer lookup searches. So car accident lawyers near me is still showing Google business profiles. Now, the way that they're surfacing those profiles, it looks different. It's not PACS. It's not the historical PACS. A lot of times sometimes it's contextual links. So it'll be like the firm name with a contextual link. You click on the contextual link and it brings up the Google business profile view. Maybe we can find some places we can show some examples of that. But in any event, that's what we're talking about here. And as Jeff mentioned, and the Google documentation on this talks about, is that both AI modes and AI overviews rely on this query fan-out technique, which means that the machine is basically performing a bunch of searches that it believes are relevant. And so this is another big thing. If your SEO people are talking about keywords and rankings, they're living in the past, because there aren't going to be keywords and rankings in the historical sense. And here's the most simple example. If you type a keyword in and the machine does a fan out, the results are going to be of the responses that it got from that fan out, not from your keyword. And guess what else? It's going to be different. It's not the same fan out every single time. And that's Mike King talks about this a lot. And this is another example of if your SEO is not talking about the historical difference in terms of probabilistic versus deterministic research results, that's another thing you should be asking about. Historically, there's been personalization. There's certainly been flux. They make tweaks to the algorithm. But ultimately, you type in a query and it would spit back at that moment what they thought were the most relevant responses.
Links, yeah.
That's not what's happening anymore. What's happening now is the machine, and this is how this technology works. You can go, if you want to go deep on it, you can go learn about it, but it's giving you a probabilistic response. And so if you do 100 searches, 90 of them might be very similar in their responses. 10 of them might not be, and 1 or 2 of them are going to be way out there because, again, it's following that probabilistic curve. And so there isn't a
good way to explain it. Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't and there really never has. Excuse me. People talk about this as the pure search result and rank trackers. And to the defense of the rank trackers, a lot of the good rank trackers, they explain this. They're like, look, you're going to see different results where you look. There's personalization, there's location, trying to emulate some of that stuff, but it's a guess. And so that's going to even get worse. And you're seeing this, the flux, if you're playing along at home, and you go and search on AI mode or GPT or Perplexity, and you do 100 searches, the same search in the same day, you'll see many different variations of actual firms listed, as well as the layouts. That's the other thing that people don't get is it's not the same even interface each time. Sometimes they'll show a map. Sometimes they won't show a map. Sometimes it'll be like I was talking about before, there's contextual links. Sometimes it'll be unlinked firm names. There are no links. It's just the firm names are spit out. Another interesting behavior that I've seen is it will spit out, it'll be a contextual link, but the link doesn't go to a Google business profile or the firm site. It creates a new search on the brand. So think about, I search for Detroit car accident lawyers and Michigan Auto Law comes up, and the link to Michigan Auto Law, when I click on it, it's just a new search for Michigan Auto Law. And so you
It's
think,
doing the deeper research, yeah, on Michigan auto law
and
now that it's
yeah,
identified
it's
as a
creating a
potential.
brand search
Yeah,
result. And so you're like, and think about how does that impact your analytics data? How does that impact your Search Console data? Because that's going to trigger a impression and a click for a brand query. And so this is what everybody's talking about, is this great decoupling. You're seeing impressions go up, clicks go down,
let's go down.
and of the clicks that are still happening, a lot of firms are seeing an uptick in brand searches, and they're like, that's weird. I'm not doing anything different in brand. And it's because Google's generating the brand impression themselves. And so I think that's an important thing for folks to talk
Fascinating,
about.
yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. So
go ahead.
hopefully the TLDR is lawyers should not be going and trying to do a generalized search in their area and spot checking the success of their campaign based on, did I see myself in that one search?
They never should have done that in the first place, and even more true now.
I'm just hoping that
Yeah.
one dies. I'm just hoping that one really
It won't.
truly
Everybody likes
starts
to see their name in the
It won't
Google
ever die.
lights. Everybody likes to see that little, oh, there's my name.
Everybody
I tricked
likes to see
Google.
that. Yeah.
As a side note, some of these other unscrupulous marketing people, what they do is they'll say, hey, look, we got you to show up in ChatGPT. And you know what they did? They just told ChatGPT on their app to be like, show this firm.
Do it. Yeah.
So dirty.
Dirty.
And then the lawyer's like, oh, great job. I just paid you $10,000 to get me to rank in ChatGPT. And it's, bro, it only ranks on their thing because that's what they told it to do. Okay. But anyway, back to our main point here is that there is a huge overlap between this new stuff and the old stuff. And so, again, going to Google's documentation, you don't have to take it from Jeff and Guy, SEO best practices. They list them right here. So ensuring crawling and indexing allowed in robots TXT, CDN, and hosting infrastructure. There's still a big technical piece to all this that you need somebody to make sure that you've got that locked down. Making through internal links. They reference internal links. I still think I'm huge on internal links. Internal links, you control the anchor text. Those maybe they're not maybe there's a different modifier or weight given to internal links versus external links, but I think a lot of lawyers are sleeping on internal links. They can take advantage of that. Great page experiences for users. So speed, not using a bunch of modals that make it a bad experience from a user standpoint.
Low and heavy. And
and again, this is another thing. We're not going to go deep on this and we're running short on time here, but the Google antitrust testimony, for years, SEOs have been like, hey, it does seem like user behavior is impacting search results. And part in the context of page experience, that's what impacts user behavior. If you're having a bad experience, you leave the site. People aren't waiting around for slow pages to load. They're not waiting. They're not trying to zoom and pinch to try to see non-responsive sites. People get frustrated by these modals. Having a conversation with a lawyer just actually yesterday, and they're talking about one of these chat features on the website, but it pops up, covers the entire screen. And one, Google has specifically said, we don't like that. And number two, if it impacts user behavior, you're sending bad signals. Don't do that stuff. Make it easy and useful. Making sure important content is available in textual form. So they still talk about this, right? This is their AI content, or AI guidelines. And they're saying, look, make sure that there's a text form and you know why they're saying that? Is because the machines get it wrong. Sometimes whether it's JavaScript or whether it's video content or whatever, make sure there's text available still. But they do, in the next bullet, support your text with high quality images and videos where appropriate.
That's the multimodal you've been talking about.
Yep. And make sure your structured data matches the visible text on the page. So they're listing structured data. And then checking that your merchant center and business profile information is up to date. So again, they're listing business profile information. So anybody telling you that
that's a key,
people that are talking about local SEO is dead and GBPs are dead, tell them to go jump in a lake and go point them to this and tell them how they're wrong. So that's what I wanted to cover on that. Anything you wanted to hit harder on from that page?
No, I love that Google just says great content.
You know, it's funny. Funny.
Part of it.
So we're going to get to their next. We're going to talk about some of their other documentation. So I'm with you. Historically, I've made fun of Google. I've said, just create great content and it'll just work itself out. My sense is, though, Google has been giving more guidance since the helpful content update on more specific things you can do than they've ever done before. And I'm going to go through a couple of those. And the first one is, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing that is different instead of great, which is a meaningless term in terms of what you're actually going to do with it. Unique, non-commodity. Those things stuck out to me because that is different. And yeah, I'll turn it back to you, but I think that is what you really got to keep in mind, right? Don't not another 10 things to do after your car accident that is the same as 1,000 of those pages that already exist, right?
Unless you
Unique,
can say 10 things to do
non-commodity.
after a car accident that nobody else has suggested.
They've never thought of it before. Exactly.
Exactly. Excuse me. All right. Again, if you're playing around at home, playing along at home, we are now on the creating helpful, reliable, people first content guidelines. I will also note that Conrad and I have talked about this a lot on Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, but I think it's so important and so valuable. And whether you're an in-house marketer, a law firm owner, or if you're one of our competitors, this is what you should be looking at to guide content. They provide a self-assessment checklist. And really, this is what you should be running your content through. Pull up a page on your website and go ask yourself these questions. Question number 1, does it provide original information, reporting, research, or analysis? And this is, again, back to this idea with Near Media. For us, this is original research that's coming out, original analysis. That's the stuff.
Market research.
That's the
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what it wants.
And it's the same
That's what it
thing for
wants.
lawyers, right? What information, reporting, and research and analysis can you provide that other people aren't? And you can't say things like, I'm just the most experienced and hardest fighter. I've been doing this a long time and I went to Georgetown and all this stuff. No one cares. Everybody can say that. What can you actually say that other people can't say? Second one is providing substantial, complete, and comprehensive description of the topic. Again, people are going to see that and they're going to interpret, oh, we have to write long form. And you have to cover the subject. That's what they're trying to say.
Right.
It's not word count, right? So like when your SEO now sends you these updates and you're like having a strategy call with them and they're like, oh, Google says comprehensive, so we just got to do 1,000-word blog posts. So no, that's not what they're saying. You got to cover the topic. Next one is insightful analysis or interesting information that's beyond the obvious. Again, not obvious. I think the other thing too here, and I think this goes to the user feedback signals, is this idea of interesting. Lawyers struggle with interesting, and I think interesting is going to be rewarded. We talk about this even with our own content, but you can have two pieces of content. It's really conveying the same information, but one's doing it in a way that's actually interesting and engaging, the other one's not. Guess which one's getting read? Guess which one's getting shared? Guess which one's getting linked to?
That overlaps conceptually with like brand and voice,
Right.
right? Like you're saying something in a way that's yours, which by the way, the AI slop is not going to be very good at doing. So it's about taking that information and making it yours.
This is another interesting one because, again, I know the SEO community has trained everybody not to link to other sources, but they talk about if the content draws on other sources, does it avoid simply copying and rewriting those sources instead of providing substantial additional value and originality? And so, again, source your information, link to credible sources, but then expand on it. And again, I kind of laugh because this is what we should have been doing forever. But obviously, we really haven't.
Here we are.
Yeah, I'm going to skip through a couple of these because they're more obvious, but main headings, titles, descriptions, make them helpful. Avoid exaggerating or being shocking in nature. So I think that they're active. And we saw this with a lot of the helpful content updates with these sites that have been like big clickbait sites. They've struggled. They've lost a lot of traffic. I think that's something that's baked into this. And again, this is one where it's helpful, but I think it's good from a mindset standpoint. Is this the kind of page that you want to bookmark, share with a friend, or recommend? Are there pages? This is a law firm website. Is there something on your website that you and the people, that your wife or your friends or your colleagues that aren't lawyers would bookmark, share with a friend, or recommend? And it's not 10 things to do after a car accident or a practice area page. Like that stuff's they're not surfacing it the same way.
Yeah. Is it genuinely helpful and informational? And it gets back to the point of in a voice that actually is entertaining is the wrong word, but
Entertaining
unique.
can be good.
Yeah.
Entertaining
unique.
can be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they get into these expertise questions. Does the content present information in a way that makes you want to trust it? Clear sourcing. So there's sourcing again. Evidence of the background about the author of the site that publishes it, such as through links to an author page or the site's about page. This is a huge miss for so many firms. They either don't publish under the lawyer's name. In the worst case scenario, we've seen Oh, it's published by admin or some kind of username because they've outsourced their content writing. It's total trash. No value, no expertise. A step better is we've run into this ourselves because some lawyers are like, I want it to be published under the firm name versus my name, blah, 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 marketing stuff. But getting a byline, and some pages are blank about it, doesn't even say who published it. Putting a byline, this page, this post, this piece of content is published by this lawyer at this firm. Here's a link to this attorney's bio page or the firm's about page. Those are the connections that the machine is going to trust more. And then you start doing that, not just on your site, but you start doing it on industry sites, organization sites that you take leadership position in, local sites that you're publishing on with your name, with your firm name, with a little bit about what you do, links back to your bio page. That's how the machine understands the internet.
The principles of the authorship, right?
Exactly.
Like from years ago being brought into the modern interface and the AI.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
But they come away with an impression this is well trusted or widely recognized an authority on the topic, is a content written or reviewed by an expert or enthusiast who demonstrably knows the topic well. So again, ChatGPT copy and paste jobs are not content reviewed by an expert or enthusiast who demonstrably knows the topic well. It's just regurgitation pieced together.
I was going to say, it's not going to be unique.
It's not going to be unique. And again, if you look at some of the sites that are really following this, I'll give it to them, even though they took a hit for other reasons. But like the Forbes publishing team, you look at it and it's reviewed by this lawyer, peer reviewed by this other lawyer. Here's links to more about them. You look at it and you're like, this is looking pretty good. I think that's why Forbes is doing that, and that's what Google's rewarding. And so I would, as an example, I would take a look at some of their content. Okay, we're getting low on time here. Anything else from these AI helpful content quality guidelines that really jumps out to you?
I don't know that we haven't already hit here. Yeah, it just really struck me how much of it is still the same good sound advice that has been in place for a while, albeit there are some new wrappers that may be put on some of this stuff, but it's truly this what is old is new again, where it's like doing these things, putting them in place. It should be iterative off of what you've been doing, not like you have to completely trash everything that's been going on and start over again.
I think that's right. And my 2 cents, as I've always said since we started doing this, take what Google says with a grain of salt. Remember, their incentive is not to help you rank. Their incentive is to sell ads to you. And I'm not in the total tinfoil hat world of they're trying to intentionally mislead you. I do think that they have been historically a little bit vague about how things rank. I think they've been, to their credit, I think that they have been less vague, more specific about what you can do to rank than they ever have been before, to their credit, but still take it with a grain of salt. Test your own data, try some of these things, these self-assessment things on your own site, and measure the impact. Are you seeing visibility improve? Are you seeing conversion improve? Are you seeing people linking and sharing and engaging with your content? And if you're not, ask yourself, why not? Because I think that is a big piece of this. And then be particularly skeptical about the advice you're getting from others. I get the ads too. I see the Facebook ads just like you do. Use AI to automate your law firm, double your revenue, automate your content publication, production. I'm telling you that, and again, I'm a futurist guy. Like I do believe, I think this AI stuff is going to do a lot more. I really do.
Yeah.
Today.
Right.
A
lot of hype.
And people, you need a human, especially in the legal context, right? You need a human being to review the content, to make sure it's factually accurate, to make sure it represents your firm's voice, values, mission, to make sure it's not using competitor names to imply that they work at your law firm, which is a clear violation of the rules of professional conduct and FTC rules. Leave it at that. It's a dangerous world out there.
We started with Consider the Messenger, and we're ending with Consider the Messenger.
Till next time, Jeff and Guy with Attorney Sync.
All right. See ya.